Hello, team. We just wrapped up an amazing episode with Sofie Fella. She has been on this podcast before, episode 197. So you might remember this is almost a 2-year catch up since last being on the podcast, where she had lots of grand ideas about how she could help more women around the world. She's now doing that, and she's doing it on a massive scale. And I think is just at the start of an incredible journey. So in this podcast, she shares how she has come about and achieved these results, her entrepreneurial journey, the books she's read, the mindset shifts she's had, and how she's using things like social media, Instagram, and Xiaohongshu to create an incredible impact. So I think you're going to love it. Sofie Fella, welcome back to the Process podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
How are you doing?
I'm super happy to be back in Hong Kong this week, doing some rugby stuff, but also just catching up with all my old friends, like here.
Okay, you keep on calling this a full circle moment.
Yeah.
Because I've seen you a couple of times now since you've been back. And we've stayed in contact since you moved to Dubai. So people might have listened to your last podcast, episode 197. You were just about to embark on a new journey of life, moving to Dubai. And it was kind of like your parting interview from Coastal. There was a big theme of that podcast was talking about a lot of the things that you had been sharing at the time on your social media page. There had been like sporadic, odd projects that you'd like started. I don't know if they finished, but there was a consistent message around a lot of things you were doing, and it was all around body image, specifically around females. You shared a lot of your own story as a Eurasian girl growing up in Shanghai, in ballet and dance, and a lot of the stereotypes and pressures that girls feel, especially yourself. And then you transitioned into rugby, and then you have had this crazy journey with your own security around your body, the way you look, and then bringing that to society. When we last spoke, you had talked about this kind of like mission that you felt you were on, where you wanted to help specifically more females around the world. I think at the time it was like very much in the rugby space, but it was clearly grown beyond that. And from what I have seen, I think what the rest of the world has seen through your social media pages, like it's been a pretty wild journey. Like there's a lot that has happened since we last spoke. And today is about that catch up and that journey. I'd love to know what has happened between when you were last on this podcast and how you have come to where you are today, which is, maybe you can fill this part in. What do you do today?
What do I do today? I'm doing a lot of things currently, and it is a bit chaotic, but I think at the end of the day, these are all things that I always think back to. If I, like me as a young girl, am I living the life that she would be proud of? And then all the things that I'm doing, I'm like, yeah, I think she would think that current Sofie is pretty cool for going after all those things. So some of those things are obviously currently based in Dubai. I haven't spent consistent time in Dubai the last since end of 2023 because I was off in France playing rugby as well. And then still doing my same full-time job in gaming and esports, which I really love the industry. I'm learning a lot working at a startup. And then at the same time, I've got like just kind of passion projects that I come up with ideas every day, and I try to do as much making them into reality as possible. I think I say that this is a full circle moment being back here in this room in front of this microphone and in this gym as well, because obviously the last time we spoke, it was a lot of, this is what I care about and I want to do something about it. And since then, I think I've done more in that direction in terms of the impact and purpose I want to have. But at the same time, it's also a full circle moment because this gym, and I said this on the last podcast, I started coming here when I was 20 during COVID, and 20-year-old versus 25-year-old me has a completely different relationship with her her body and her mental health, everything. And this gym was a huge part of that. So that's why it all kind of comes together. And also why I wanted to come back and catch up with you about it again.
I love it. So
Yeah.
tell me about these passion projects. What
Yeah.
are you doing?
So I think on the last podcast, I talked about this one little project that I just wanted to execute because I felt like I have these creative ideas, but I'm not very good at making things happen or holding myself accountable. Remind me if I am wrong, but I think I spoke about the scrunchie project
Yes.
with the Chinese like qipao dress made into scrunchies so that I can wear them when I play rugby, kind of crossing over the rugby world and the part of me that's always kind of been in conflict, which is the Chinese part. And um, since then, I think 2024 was a big year for reading a lot of books about entrepreneurship and realizing that it's all good to have ideas, but if you're just gonna let them stay and you're swirling up here and not making them happen, then are you really what are you doing to impact the world? So I went on this journey of a lot of learning, but then also just telling myself, how about we just do some experiments? And I think Ali Abdal, I don't know if you watch his YouTube videos. He's a doctor turned YouTuber. He's also now living in Hong Kong, has a huge following. Watched a lot of his videos about his kind of journey turning into a YouTuber, content creator, all of that. And I think we'll have probably more of a conversation about social media later. That's I always kind of ask myself, why does social media matter to me, and why does having a platform of people who listen to what you say matter to me? Is it really because I want 5 million followers, or like, what do I need them for? And it's exactly what I said on the last podcast. Like, the things I care about, the mission, purpose, whatever I care about, if you have 5 million people who care about what you say, then you can actually change and create influence in those spaces. So I think social media is a huge part of that, and I've been trying to do some experiments in that industry as well. Um, but it was Ali Abdal who I think talked about this idea of a lot of people are scared of failure, which is why they don't want to start in the first place, and probably why I didn't really do as much stuff in the past. But when you have this like life is an experiment mentality, or like everything you do is, oh, I'm trying this t-shirt project out as an
Mm.
experiment, and it might not work out, but some experiments fail. So when you have that mentality, you kind of get over that hurdle of, okay, like let's just start, let's try it. Um, and with that mentality, in May of 2024 was when I think I saw some other community, like female community WhatsApp groups. And I was kind of sitting there like, I mean, it is so easy to start a WhatsApp group and just put your friends into it. And at that time, I was doing some fitness, like CrossFit fitness competitions in Dubai. And there are so many different gyms in Dubai. But, and obviously, each gym, you kind of have your community and friends with that gym. A lot of women across these gyms, and we only ever see each other when we do the like ladies only competitions or other competitions. And I was like, it would be so cool if like we all follow each other on Instagram, but we don't actually hang out and have dinners and stuff like that. So wouldn't it be cool if we just had like a Dubai all women in like fitness and sport group, and we could just have dinner with each other, or like go paddleboarding, like casual stuff, go to the beach, play spike ball. And I messaged this to my friend Gemma, who we both go to CrossFit Eliath, and realizing like I had gym friends at Coastal in Hong Kong, but a lot of the time I was going to the gym with Adamia, my partner, and his friends. And in Dubai, it was really nice having like my own girl gym crew that I would see every morning, and they would push me. Let's say like it's a day where I'm feeling a bit meh about like body stuff, and they're there at 6:30 and they're like, put some more weight on that bar. So Gemma and Noor, those are my friends who we kind of talked about this idea of like it's so important to have other women in the gym with you to motivate you and inspire you to actually push yourself. Because when other women are like, oh my gosh, how cool is it that she's doing a muscle up and everyone's trying to reach that goal, you're focusing on like this skill movement of the muscle up, and you're not focusing on like the way your body looks, but just that goal. Um, so I remember messaging Gemma in May 2024, hey, what's another name for like strong girls club, but not strong girls club because that doesn't sound that super inclusive. But like, let's say we were to make a WhatsApp group or community for women across sport and fitness in Dubai, and it's like something like Strong Girls Club. And then she goes, Girls Lift Girls. I was like, oh, yeah, that's a really good name. Let's do that. And then we just made this group chat, started adding our friends into it. Our first event was like the most easy to execute thing. It was dinner at an Italian restaurant with like 15 girls. Everyone shows up, everyone pays their own bill, and we just like hang out and have fun and meet new people, talk about gym stuff. And that was it. That was the first thing. Um, and then I think we did a couple more like fun events, dinners, paddleboarding. That's when gyms in Dubai started reaching out to us, and they were like, "Hey, you could use our space." 'Cause obviously they want to bring exposure to more women who are going to gyms about their gym, and we ended up partnering with a few gyms, doing some events, and suddenly we were hosting these like workouts for 80 women or 80 plus women. And everyone just loves getting together, doing like a team workout. Yeah, and then we started getting a bit more creative with our events. So that's Girls of Girls. Should I pause there?
Yes.
I'm
I'm
going
going to
on.
pause you there because I think I think for anyone who follows you on Instagram, there's a few themes with your social media. Rugby is a big part of it. You know, you travel around the world and you play seasons
Chasing
in France.
Seasons.
Yeah, Chasing Seasons. Which is your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, I kind of
YouTube series.
We don't know what it is yet.
Okay.
I've used it on Instagram. I've used it on YouTube.
It's another Sofie Fella experiment.
It is.
Okay.
I'm trying to see what the best use of it is. I love the term Chasing Seasons because sounds like a Netflix series that has not happened yet for like female rugby players.
Yeah.
Traveling around the world playing rugby.
It is a very good name.
Yeah. So.
Okay, but we're not going to get sidetracked on that right now. We're going to go back to Girls Lift Girls.
Yes.
So, okay, you've had this evolution from basically starting a WhatsApp group, and this is all coming back to your purpose of what? What is the ultimate goal of Girls Lift Girls?
It's basically I grew up in an environment, Shanghai, Hong Kong can be thrown in there as well, where muscular, strong bodies for females was not the norm. And I mean, we still live in a world today where, especially for women, looks is a huge focus. The way we look and, you know, the way brands advertise, and the bodies that they use in those ads as well. And I mean, it can be in whatever country. If you're a more muscular woman walking down the street, in the airport, wherever, sometimes you will actually have people come up to you and be like, "Oh, are you an athlete? Do you go to the gym? Oh, you're so muscular." Like, and those are all compliments. Those aren't bad things. At one point in my life, maybe I took them as like, more offensive. But now I see them as compliments. But at the end of the day, they're still picking up on something that's not the norm. Exactly. Yeah. And so how do we create a world where this is the norm? Well, you need more women surrounded by that environment, right? And just exposed to that environment at a younger age as well. And I think when I moved to Dubai and I, like I said before, found these girls that I loved going to the gym with, that was my little environment that made me feel more confident in being strong and having muscle and being able to do these skills in the gym or play rugby well on the field. And that's basically what we want to expand, is how do we create an environment where performance is awesome, where like a healthy functioning body is really important, top priority. Getting together, having fun, sweating, and the idea of like having each other's backs. So like girls lift girls is all about we back each other, we hype each other up in sport, in the gym. And that's kind of the mission behind it, is to create that environment where, I mean, if the entire world has this like girls of girls mentality of all women and men, then we're gonna live in a world where, you know, kind of other things are prioritized than what it is currently.
Okay, so I want to ask from Sophie, who was creating scrunchies and
Yeah.
then stopping scrunchies, to this idea of creating a WhatsApp group. And in between, you said there was this, this learning process of reading entrepreneurial books. And what was the guy's name on
Ali
YouTube?
Abdal.
Ali
Yeah.
Abdal. So you're basically consuming content that's basically obviously giving you skill sets and confidence to do something rather than just sitting on your ideas.
Hmm.
What were the things? What were the things that you learned in that time that spurred you to actually get out there now and create Girls of Girls, make it into this crazy big community now where you've got, 80 people and Gymshark are sponsoring you and yeah. What did you learn? Like that, I think
Yeah.
that's a secret sauce that everyone's like,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
do I do that?
Um, okay, so I was watching Ali Abdal with my partner, who at this time we were both kind of like pushing each other with like, oh, we need to have things outside of work that that our brains can think about, like side projects. And we were watching all these YouTube videos. We also read this book, and I have recommended this book to every single person that is close to me. So this is the secret sauce. There's a book called Millionaire Fastlane. I think the author is MJ DeMarco, and I recommend this book to you as
I'm
well.
writing it down now.
And it sounds like a get rich book from the title, but what it really comes down to is this idea of slow lane versus fast lane, and the idea of entrepreneurship. Because we grow up, we go to school, we're taught like this is kind of how the system works. We go to university, we go to a corporate job as what is deemed as successful. You work 9 to 6, put some savings away every month, and then when you retire at 60, you have enough money to, I don't know, enjoy life later on. And that's what he talks about as the slow lane. The fast lane is, well, you want to enjoy like all the amazing things life has to offer, travel everywhere, not when you're 60, but when you're young. How can you actually get there when you're younger? That's the fast lane. And the fast lane is basically entrepreneurship and the idea of less money focused, but more like freedom. Freedom's not the right word, maybe control of your time. So instead of slow lane, selling your time 5 days a week for 2 days of freedom of whatever you want to do, owning your time all 7 days and doing what you want to do every day. So as I was reading this book, this is pre Girls of Girls or t-shirt or anything. One thing he kind of talks about is you want to shift from consumer mindset into producer mindset. So this is when I'm like, oh gosh, I really need to stop sitting there with all these ideas swirling and I need to do something. But the kind of weird part during this time is the book talks about how just because you're passionate about something, like something you would do as a passion project, doesn't mean that is your fast lane project, because are you really solving a problem that exists in the world? Just because you're passionate about it doesn't mean that it's an existing problem.
Yep.
And so I remember in my phone, in the notes app, I started jotting down, like, I think the title was shift from consumer mindset to producer mindset ideas. And then just every time I came up with like, oh, we need a way to solve like menstrual cramps for women because that's keeping girls from playing sports, or it's just painful as well. Write it down. So it's like it's a very long note on my phone. And another idea was like adjustable high heels. I think we were at a wedding at this time and my feet were hurting because of wearing high heels. So I was like, oh, wouldn't it be great if at the end of the night, after the like photos and wearing your long dress, you're on your walk home, you could just like put that heel away. And those were the problems that I thought I was going to actually try and experiment with and solve. Then this Girls of Girls thing happened in May. I did not think that that was like my fast lane project. The high heels was my fast lane project. The Girls of Girls was like, oh, let's do this as a passion project to kind of learn and practice the skill of execution. I mean, basically just event after event. If I get really, really good at that, I'm executing things, right? So I was going to use that as practice for my actual Fastlane project that I wanted to do after reading the book. And then it kind of just grew from there. And so I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll just keep doing this because there's a lot of potential there and it's doing well. But I started it as like a practice project.
I wanted to quickly interrupt this episode with a quick shout out to our sponsors, Today Well Spent. I've been using this journal for 2 years and it has made a massive impact on my physical, but mostly my mental well-being. It is a guided journal backed by neuro and behavioral science, which I actually didn't know at the time. It has questions for you to answer at the start of the day, at the end of the day, end of every week, end of every month. And it's brought so much self-awareness to me of the things that positively and negatively impact my life. So if you're someone who cares about your physical and your mental well-being, which I think you do because you listen to this podcast, then go and grab yourself a Today Well Spent. Use the discount code THEPROCESS, one word in capitals, to get your discount. So my question, Soph, is going back to the principles of fast lane versus slow lane, which I think is really around the ideas of entrepreneurship and making this your living now. Right? So this is how you're generating, I guess, like income and wealth, which is ultimately going to allow you to do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
So is that the plan with Girls If Girls? Like, because, okay, can I just share some context?
Yeah.
It's because I have done lots of passion projects before, and then I kind of arrive at the sticking point where I'm like, this thing that I'm doing for free is now taking up a lot of time. And to keep on growing this, it's going to just take more and more time. That's going to either I've got to create that time somewhere. And normally that means that the thing that's paying me to do my thing, to live the life that I want, is going to have to get dwindled down. So then it's like, there's a crossroads is, how do I make the passion project now my job and my livelihood? Or do I have to let go of the passion project because I can't sustain it anymore, or it's not going to grow? And for me, I don't like doing things if I don't see growth and I see them evolve. Do you think about that?
I do. And I think that question makes me nervous because I am at that sticking point right now where not like I cannot see myself not working my full-time job. I'm lucky because I actually wouldn't call my full-time job right now slow lane because it's not a corporate job. It's a startup. And as I'm working every day for my like remote startup, I'm learning so many skills there still. I wouldn't be able to do anything Girls of Girls if not for the last 2 years of working for this startup. Completely different industry, but all of the skills that I've been picking up around like leadership and delegation and project management, wrangling people internally, but also externally. That is all very, very useful stuff from the startup that now I've been able to apply to Girls of Girls. I don't see for the next few years not working for that startup. So I would love to be able to do both as I continue growing Girls of Girls, still working for this startup. Because at the end of the day, I truly love what I do there. If I didn't love it and I saw Girls of Girls taking off, probably would
figure out a way.
Yeah, make a shift. And or Girls of Girls in tandem with something else. But because I love my colleagues so much and truly believe in this idea that there has to be a next after social media, and basically what we do at my company is gaming and esports, where you see how many kids these days are playing Roblox and Fortnite, and brands are starting to put ads into games. So it's bubbling the same way that social media did before it is now the norm. And I definitely want to be a part of that industry as it grows the next 5 years as well. So
Nice.
I want to do a lot of things, and that's my biggest flaw, I think. Is
But I think okay, so having known you for a little bit now, I think you've always wanted to do a lot of things, but it seems like you action more things now. There's a lot more things that aren't just ideas. Like the fact that you have grown this thing to be where it is right now is amazing. And that's like credit to you. I messaged you recently being like, Sophie, you are doing an amazing job. You should keep it up.
yeah.
But when I think about, this isn't business advice at all, but if you ever wanted to take Girls Lift Girls somewhere and make it something commercial, you would have such an amazing platform to do that, because you've built trust with this massive community now. You now have a distribution channel to do whatever you really wanted.
Yeah,
If it
yeah.
was in alignment. And I'm sure, because everything you do is in alignment with this idea of, women helping women. I think you got the opportunities endless. But the reason I'm saying this is because I think a lot of entrepreneurs talk about this idea of like planning and having roadmaps and having ultimate destinations and what's your 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goal. I know that I have functioned a lot of my entrepreneur life without any of those things. And it's just like you just roll day to day, and then, things organically build and grow. But I'm now existing in a very different space where I'm like, actually, I want to set goals and objectives and hard deadlines and, have vision statements, and I want to achieve this by this date. And so I'm living both of those. I've lived that one life, and I think that's naturally where I would probably default to. But I want to challenge myself to embrace this other side of entrepreneurship, which is like, aim bigger. Don't just roll the punches. Go big. Where do you want to take this? And I have found that since I have adopted that mindset, my cadence of moving towards the goal, whenever you set a goal, right? If you got a rugby match and a rugby season coming up, which starts in 2 months, the amount of output that goes into the off season is high because you've got to be ready by this point. You want to set a weight loss goal, or you want to set a lifting goal. The moment you set a deadline on something, the focus just becomes intensified.
Yeah.
And I'm really enjoying that challenge. Also trying to navigate it. It's been hard. But yeah, have you got thoughts on that?
I do think I completely agree that obviously people are interesting people when they have goals and dreams and like a challenge that they've are sharing with people. I think when you are a super passionate person about whatever project or goal you're going after, it kind of creates this like attractive energy. People migrate towards you. And I do think the goal with Girls of Girls is to, for the moment, continue growing it. The WhatsApp group, the Instagram, kind of, we are looking at aligning the branding more and the values. And I mean, this is all new to me. Every step of the way, I'm using ChatGPT, being like, all right, give me values that are LSKD tone of voice, but these ones. Or the other day, having to like ask ChatGPT to generate like what does a shareholder agreement look like between me and my co-founder? And I think all of that is super valuable just in terms of knowledge, like business entrepreneurial knowledge for Girls of Girls, but also any other project that I come up with. With Girls of Girls, it's just about growing the community, keep doing these events. Obviously, in order to keep growing it, we do need some form of money in our like GLG pot. And that's the goal right now, is grow the community, Yes, we also do merchandise as like a bit of a, well, you're buying something, but it's a bit of a donation to Girls of Girls. We're still trying to figure out what works best in terms of in a community, like, do you charge a membership? It's always been free. Suddenly you change it. Is that a good idea? I'm personally not super comfortable with going the membership model. So I'm still trying to explore other types of models, or whether it is, okay, brands who want to reach this target audience and they want to be a part of our events, or they want to give discounts, get that exposure. Is that how we make our money to keep us going? The great thing is that it's called Girls of Girls, and the only reason that I'm able to still do this alongside all of the other projects is that I'm not in this by myself. We've got people in Hong Kong who are kind of running the show in Hong Kong. We've got people in Sydney, Brisbane, and then me and Gemma in Dubai. And everyone's like voluntarily doing this because they believe in the mission behind it. There's literally zero money on the table. And the idea behind it is we're girls lifting girls. Like, we all believe in this, so we want to make this better for all the other girls in the world. Currently, that's what it is. I do see it growing to a point where, we have people we actually hire to help us. But how we get there is still a big question mark. And what that looks like in terms of my time and how much I put into it is also a big question mark. So kind of just going along as I in phases and figuring it out.
Okay, so what's the advice here? Okay, so for other people who have ideas, you shared some amazing wisdom, by the way, in this idea of like, what pain are you fixing? What pain are you solving?
Yeah.
And I love your list. I have exactly the same list on my phone.
We can compare lists.
Yes. So I love the idea though, right? Because I think what you're also talking about is that, okay, a passion project is great. You have, immense, well, I can't think of a better word than passion, but you have immense passion for a thing, but turning that thing into a viable potential business is a very different conversation, right? And so your advice of like, you need to figure out what pain you're solving. You need to actually figure out if this is a pain that people need solving. Like, is the pain so great that your product or service or whatever the thing is actually what they're going to pay for?
Yeah.
This is something that I have discovered way too late in my entrepreneurial life, because I feel like it actually should be the fundamentals of like before you start anything. And I haven't ever done that. I have operated more on the passion side of things. I'm just lucky that the passion that I found, which is helping people and changing their lives through exercise and fitness, happens to be a massive pain point that the world, I think, will never lose.
I think that's exactly the same journey that I've been on. Is you start it because it's a pain point for you,
yes,
and you're passionate about it. You want to like exert some of that energy that you have towards it out into the world. And then slowly you realize that this is actually a pain point for a lot of people. And a lot of people start telling you that this has a lot of potential. And I think that's when you're like, oh, I thought this was a passion project. And now we're going more towards the business direction, because it actually is a pain point for people. And I think that's a scary space to be, because the feeling of, okay, it was a passion project. I have the issue of I still call it a passion project, even though it is a licensed business. Like, we have a business number in Dubai.
Yeah.
It's hard because I think when you call it a business or you talk about the money side of it, I constantly have to go back to like, why did we do this in the first place? Like,
do you feel like it changes your relationship with the thing if you call it those things?
A little bit. I think especially if you're doing, so I haven't touched on this yet, but the t-shirts that we're wearing right now is a different project. I would say selling a t-shirt, because it's a very like transactional thing to do that we do all the time. We buy stuff. It's a lot easier to just call that like, yeah, your brand, your business, versus when I'm doing something that involves community and free events, it feels weird calling that a business.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't like put my finger on it, but
I do want to like talk more about the pain point part.
Yeah.
So because I've been going deep into some rabbit holes recently and trying to upskill myself
Yeah.
in, you know, whatever my next project is, because I'm feeling like I'm ready for another project.
Yeah.
Making sure that, you know, so okay, this is an example that, you know, that made a lot of sense to me. It's like, okay, so I think there's a guy called Alex Hormozy. I've been consuming a lot of his content recently. Okay, you're nodding your head, so
I've been
you're a
consuming a
fan.
lot of his
Okay.
content.
You know, so he basically talks about the 3 industries that will probably never die, which is health, wealth, and relationships. And if you can be in those 3 things, like, it doesn't matter what space we live in, those are always going to be massive pain points. If you don't have your health, you die. If you don't have wealth, well, then it's very hard to navigate the world. And if you don't have relationships, we know that human beings are so built around love and connection. So, and then I think, okay, good, tick. I'm in the health, and I'm kind of in the wealth industry as well, right? I'm helping gyms run more successful gyms, trying to help coaches be more wealthy and successful in their careers. And then obviously the health part is everything. So then, okay, within health though, then you can narrow that down. And so, okay, so we have a client, and this person wants to lose body fat, and they got 2 choices. They can sign up to a gym and do a 6-month weight loss challenge, or they can get liposuction. So both of them have the same dream outcome of this is going to help you lose body fat. But there is a few variables in that make them very, very different. Number 1, the dream outcome is the same. You do this thing and you lose a lot of body fat. And then the next thing is like the perceived likelihood of achievement. He talks about this a lot, right? So this is basically, he calls this his value equation, right? So with a 6-month weight loss challenge, perceived likelihood of achievement. Well, 6 months is a really long time. Lots of people start fitness challenges and they stop. What if the gym closes down? What if I can't get to the gym that day? What if work gets busy? Blah, 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 blah. Fill all these excuses as to why I might not achieve it. Perceived likelihood of success with liposuction. I go into hospital, I close my eyes, I wake up, and the fat's gone. Like, you know, in a few hours. And then the next thing is like, well, there's this time delay thing, right? So then it's like, well, the transformation is 6 months of my life. Liposuction is a few hours. And then there's like the effort and sacrifice needed for it. The effort and sacrifice needed for 6 months transformation is huge. Every day I'm gonna have to go into the gym, spend an hour there. Liposuction, effort and sacrifice is nothing. I just got to go and I got to pay a bit of money.
Yeah.
And then I've got the thing there. So both are trying to achieve the same dream outcome. You've just got one that's going to get you those results in and solve the pain in a few hours. And you got one which is going to solve the pain in 6 months, maybe. And so then, you know, then I start thinking about that. I'm like, oh my God, that is just a whole.
Why are people not getting liposuction?
And it's well, then it's also like, this is why liposuction costs a lot of money, and transformations and shreds are really cheap and everyone can do it. But again, this would just made me really think on a much deeper level about, okay, I'm not just trying to help. Yes, I'm trying to help people, but then if I want to make something commercially successful as well, then, oh God, there's this whole nother layer that I never even thought about.
I guess for that, you would sell the journey, right? The 6-month journey of that in itself has value, as much value as the end result.
Which is a hard sell though.
Yeah.
It's an easy sell when you've been through a similar journey and you know it.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're someone who struggled with weight loss for 50 years, 30 years of your life.
But I guess you wouldn't sell I wouldn't focus on the weight loss part. I would focus on the relationships you're building in the gym as you're doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's a group shred or something. But I guess the one is cheaper than the other. That's the main sell, isn't it?
Yeah, one is a lot of cheap. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I guess it's all alluding to what you were talking about, right? Which is like, don't just take a passion and try and make it a career straight away. Like there are layers to this. And obviously your book has made a massive impact on you. And a lot of my books and people I follow have made a massive influence on me as well.
I feel like, I mean, just now you said Alex Hormozy. I didn't even know who he was until I read this book in around May 2024, around the same time that like the Girls of Girls stuff was bubbling. Probably finished the book in June 2024.
Which book was it?
The book I was talking about, Millionaire Fastlane.
Yeah.
And And then since then, it was like just consuming a lot of entrepreneur content.
Your
Alex
algorithms are
Morosi.
like, boom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a YouTuber, Daniel Dalen. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's kind of in the like sourcing, fulfillment, merchandising space. He's a guy from the Netherlands, but he speaks fluent Chinese. Um, and he has like a warehouse in Dongguan, and kind of shares the behind the scenes of his journey of building his company, and like really quality content, like the storytelling content that hooks you right in. And I remember watching that being like, okay, as I build this t-shirt, Girls of Girls, other projects, I'm just gonna put my phone there and like film myself whatever I'm doing on my laptop, because how cool will it be in 5 years from now to look back on the journey of building, and then also sharing that with people as you go along. I think this kind of segues into the social media content a little bit, but what seems to be doing well, really well right now is that storytelling content, like kind of making your life a bit of a documentary content. And there's a girl I know in Dubai who just launched a runwear brand specifically for women. She did such a good job with like, this is where how I got it supplied. This is where the fulfillment is happening. The vision board for this, like taking everyone along with her, and she built a community behind her brand before she even launched the brand. And so I thought that was just super impressive. But yeah, content like that, like
Yes.
people building stuff in Dubai, which there's plenty of people building stuff everywhere. And it just, as you watch this content, it inspires you and motivates you. And then what I want to do for my partner, my friends, people around me is, as they see me being super engaged in building the stuff I'm building and sharing it with them, that they're like, or after me forcing them to read Millionaire Fastlane, that they're like, oh, what's a problem that I really care about solving? Let me try and go do something about it. Because at the end of the day, if I don't make Fastlane, at least my friends and family make Fastlane.
Yeah.
And I, while I was in France playing rugby, my dad was actually my flatmate there for a few months with me. Super good to spend time with him. And I made him read this book as well. He's retired. He's 65 now. And he read this book and he was like, I'm going to write a book about the time when I was studying in China, because I've always wanted to do that and I haven't executed it. I'm going to do it. And he's in the process right now. So need to check up on him.
That's amazing.
But like
The
stuff
ripple
like
effect,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. The ripple effect, exactly. People have had that effect on me, and then I want to pass it along to other people to just like build and be creative, find what problem. Yes, there are so many problems in the world that need solving, but I guess the secret sauce here might be list them all out, the things that you see, and then what do you actually care about solving the most?
Yeah.
And let's just start with that one as a way to practice, because there are problems like, I don't know, access to water in poor countries that I can list out. I don't know how to solve that right now. Maybe if I solve an easier thing and get that practice in, I can work my way to solving harder problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. I very much resonate with the passing it on. I've had so many people that have made massive impacts in my life. And I feel, I always say that social media is this incredible vehicle, which is free of charge. It's super accessible by anyone. Why wouldn't I use it?
Mm-hmm.
I remember with this gym getting to a point where, we had a wait list of members to come in, and I felt that I had too much. I felt like I had exhausted everything I knew onto all the people inside these four walls, but I felt like I had more that I needed to share with people outside the four walls. And I was like, how do I do that? And that's ultimately where this podcast started. This is my first vehicle of being able to put my thoughts and voice out there to a bigger platform. And Instagram was exactly the same. It was like, why wouldn't I utilize this platform and use this opportunity in this day and age that I have been fortunate enough to live in, to try and share my message and things that I care deeply about. So tell me about your social media journey, because you have become, I think you're quite prevalent on there now. I think your following has gone up quite a bit.
A bit, I think.
I think it's gone up. I mean, I
Yeah.
haven't been
It
tracking it
hasn't gone
closely, but
backwards.
that's good. But we had a chat, I think shortly after you'd moved to Dubai, where you were trying to navigate the space. You didn't know what to do with it. I think you were struggling with certain aspects of it. And I think there was, I don't know, I can't remember. Maybe you can shed some light. Like, where were you at that point in time? And
Yeah, I think I started sharing. My first post was that post we talked about on the last podcast. It was a photo of me at Coastal. That's one of the first times I shared kind of my relationship with my body story. And that resonated a lot with a lot of women in Hong Kong, like lots of engagement. So I kept doing that, but I never was super consistent. Like I've used social media growing up as a way of, I love taking photos, I love taking videos, love just collecting memories and reminiscing on them as well. Like I'll scroll through my own Instagram and click through all of my highlights to like relive rugby summer 2023. And I think that comes from like my dad is someone who always had a video camera, and we have home movies that he would burn onto DVDs and make like little nice covers with photos. Every time we go back to Germany and I'm with my friend's family, we watch those and like nostalgic memories. So social media to me was like my own little journal of everything I've done. And I think a really good way to reflect on how far you've come and be proud of yourself as well when you look back on all your photos. And then I think in 2024 was when Instagram kind of turned into this, like everyone was doing viral trends. It feels like every man and their dog is suddenly a Instagram influencer or trying to be. And I remember during that time, I was like, I don't really think this is quality content, in my opinion. And I don't know if I really want to make that type of stuff just for the sake of like adhering to the Instagram algorithm. And there were some videos, it's like 0.02 seconds long. You post it for the sake of like the fact that it replays over and over again, and then you get more views, so then it reaches more people, something like that. And I was like, that just seems silly, because what's the point of that 0.02 second video? And I kind of was like in and out during that time because didn't know. It was important to me. Do you know Ilona Mar? She's a rugby player.
No.
She is probably the face of not just women's rugby, but rugby currently.
You post about her quite a bit. Do you repost on your stories?
Yeah, I'll repost
so
her
I've seen
stories.
her through that.
Yeah, she's a USA rugby player.
Yeah.
She has like almost 5 million followers. During the Olympics, she's always posted on like TikTok, Instagram, but during the Olympics, she blew up, especially because they won a bronze medal. And her values and her mission and I exactly the same. I would say the only difference is that she probably she probably relates more to like Western culture just because she is from the US, whereas I'm half Chinese, so maybe can be a bit more relatable to like China, Asia, and the fact that this part of the world, the issue that we're talking about is even more prevalent.
Yep.
And so I've always kind of jokingly said to people, I'm like, I really want to be like the half Chinese Ilona Mar, like having her platform, but with an audience that's more mainland China, Hong Kong, Asia, and people who actually are hearing what I'm saying about women and strength and functionality, movement, all of that. And so, do you know Eileen Gu? She's the Olympic skier.
The last like 5 people you've asked me about, you know, when you really want to say yes because it builds a connection between you and the person, I'm like, I'm gonna have to say no again.
No, I'm always proud of myself and other people when you're like, no, I don't know. Like, how am I
Yeah,
supposed to
no, I
know?
don't. I really don't know. Who? Eileen?
Eileen Gu, she is a Olympic freestyle skier.
Oh, yeah.
She's half
Yeah.
Chinese, half
Yes.
American,
Good looking
but
girl.
yes, yeah.
Yes.
Competed for China
Yeah. But
at
she's
the
American,
Olympics.
right?
She's American, and I've always wondered this because there's like kind of controversy around she's American. How did she get a passport to be eligible
Yeah.
to be on the Chinese team? And I was in this situation because I have a German passport and I was training with the Chinese team, but I would have to have given up my German passport to actually
Yeah.
keep training
Yes.
and
So,
do
okay, I
the
do know
Yes,
who you're
you
talking
do
about.
know her. So there have been times where I'm like, oh, I would love to be like the half Chinese Ilona Mar or the like Eileen Gu but women's rugby. Because
And is that because of their platforms? Is that why you want to be them? Because they have
yeah,
you see them having this ability to create mass influence because of
yeah. So one of my it's on my like 2025 vision board, but there's this quote that kind of sums up my why in terms of everything I do relating to social media. It's not, I don't want 5 million followers to have 5 million followers and like tell my friends I have 5 million followers. There's this quote that's um to have the power to create impact or something along those
Yeah.
lines. Um and I think I've always been frustrated that I'll run into an issue that I have in rugby, for example, eligibility stuff that doesn't allow me to go play in this league that I want to go play in. And then this literally happened this year. Ilona got to go play in the league that I wanted to play in because she got an exemption to that eligibility document that prevents me. And it's not like simple like, oh, I want followers so that I can get an exemption to go and play in this league. It's more like I want a platform so that I feel like I have a bigger voice to kind of highlight the problems that a lot of female rugby players are going through outside of myself, because there are German women's rugby players that I know, Belgium, like all of Europe, we kind of are in the same boat with this specific problem, but like none of us can speak out about it. And speaking of kind of the German women's team, which is the team that I play for, and I'm gonna try to get in selection again this summer for the European series. The German women's rugby team has like no funding. And I see the power that Ilona has when it comes to getting sponsorship, not just for herself, but for her team.
Yeah.
And I see that and I'm like, okay, in order for me to grow our German women's rugby team to get us to higher levels of rugby that I want to play, and also just grow women's rugby in Germany for the young girls, we need to, as individual athletes on the team, be speaking out more and posting on our social media.
Yeah.
And this kind of links back to what I do full time, which is gaming and esports, but I work in marketing and partnerships. And so I know exactly what brands are looking for in terms of entitlements and rights from esports athletes, but you can just shift it over to rugby athletes.
What are they? Would you be open to sharing?
The types of rights and entitlements.
Yeah, what are they kind of looking for?
When we're looking at a brand who wants to work with like gaming creators, and gaming creators have an insane amount of following, like their subscribers are in millions. They want to kind of a list of like, okay, where will I see my brand? Are they going to have product placement in their live streams? What is the usual reach of their live streams, the length? How many posts will I get where my brand is mentioned on their social media, on their stories? Is it a reel? Is it what's the length of the reel? Like very specific stuff. And I think about how, let's say I had Ilona level followers, 5 million, and a brand wanted to sponsor me as an athlete, it would be quite easy to kind of suggest to them, well, I'm going to be in Germany this summer training. Do you want your brand to be involved with my training videos for like Team Germany? If so, then I can also link you up with our sponsorships person at the German Rugby Union and kind of just create those connections, the more exposure I have, the more exposure what I care about has. And if at that time it's German women's rugby, then I'm sure the brand would be interested.
Can I ask a question, Soph? So I had recently heard in a podcast, I think from a guy called Daniel Priestland. He had talked about like the rise of like the nano influencer, I think he called it, which is like, I think it's like the 2,000 to 15,000 follower mark, where it's like people could really relate to those people. And then once you go, there's like a threshold that you go above that threshold and you are no longer influencing in the same way. Maybe it's a different type of influence. I don't know what that means. Is that true in the esports space? Or is it like the bigger the following, the better?
I mean, to brands, the bigger the following, the better. I would say specifically in the gaming space, people are very, very engaged. Like it's a passion point that people, if you're a brand doing something very like inauthentically in the gaming space, people can see right through it and be like, nah, we don't like you. But I would say like nano influencers in general outside of gaming as well. There's this whole idea of like buying followers, right? Like you can just have bots who follow you. And that's something I've kind of questioned and wrestled with. I'm like, so brands are working with influencers who some of them don't even have real followers.
Yeah.
And circling back to the like experimenting conversation we had before about that, let's just do some experiments mentality. During the TikTok ban in January, I was in France playing rugby, and my mom is a huge fan of Xiaohongshu, which I've had on my phone for a long time because people have kind of said like, oh, why don't you make some stuff on Xiaohongshu? And I've never used it. During the TikTok ban, that was like a kick in the butt to be like, let's look at this platform, because it was the most bizarre week of this year so far. There were American like TikTok refugees, they called them.
The team here were like, Ed, you need to get on Xiaohongshu as well.
Yeah.
So I have a Xiaohongshu account,
really?
but I would definitely say that my consistency went pretty fast off a cliff.
Yeah, me too.
I just didn't really like the platform. I just found it really hard to navigate.
I like the platform.
Do you?
Yeah, I do want to post more. I have videos that are like kind of in the making. It's just a matter of like when do I edit
things
them.
for me, it's like, okay, because my spelling is not great, and I'm like, I try to type things out as fast as I can.
Are you writing in Chinese?
No. Well, this is obviously another massive disadvantage. I basically was a TikTok refugee, but obviously didn't actually come from TikTok. So I'm posting Western content all written in English.
Okay.
So I'm like, this isn't really landing on anyone. And I don't want to just put it in Google Translate because then there's loads of errors and I can't spot those errors.
Yeah. I think also, does that make you feel kind of like you're half Chinese, and do you feel a bit like
nah, I don't feel that at all.
Okay,
no,
okay.
I've very much gotten comfortable with the fact that I'm a terrible Eurasian. I accepted that many moons ago. But it's more, I felt inauthentic being on there because I'm like, okay, am I only on here? It was a trend, right? For sure, it's a trend, and sometimes you gotta identify trends and jump on that trend while it's hot. So I think that's what I was doing
during the same week, right?
Exactly
TikTok
the same
ban
week. Yeah. And I obviously didn't know anything because I'm a dinosaur with this shit. But everyone in the team was like, Ed, all this stuff's happening. You got to get on there. We've got a big market in China. You know, we coach loads of people there. I'm like, okay. What do I do? How do I do it? And I think I did it for like 3 weeks, and I was just like, oh god, I tried to give so much energy to my social media on Instagram, and already I feel like I struggle. You know, I have a morning time when I wake up and I go through everything, and then at night time I'll go through everything. But in my day, I'm doing like my things, right? And I don't really have time for it. So I'm like, oh, where am I going to find time? I got to create the time for Xiaohongshu as well. And I think maybe honestly, just maybe a bit demoralized, being like, wow, I'm really starting at zero here. And the consistency I'm gonna have to put in to get this to be anywhere substantial, which is also probably the wrong way to look at it. Like, why having 100 followers, it can still be 100 lives you could be influencing for sure. So I think
if it's a relevant, I think what I found with my experiment results on Xiaohongshu was that one of my videos went up to like 600K views and like 900 comments, something like that.
What was the video?
It was this exact same video. So as I was doing this, I wasn't making any new videos. I was taking all videos that I already made on Instagram and just putting them on there, but I would put Chinese captions. And I actually really enjoyed that process because for that week, I was like, my Chinese has gotten better this week. Like I'm actually practicing and texting my mom to help me as well. And she got super into it. And it was the same video of me introducing myself, being like, my mom's Chinese, my dad's German. At home, I speak Chinese with my mom, German with my dad, Chinglish German all together. And on Instagram, it like no one really cared about it. I put it on Xiaohongshu and suddenly it's like blowing up. And I think on Xiaohongshu within that 1 week, 2 week period that I was posting, it was like got up to 7K followers. So there's a lot of potential on that platform for me. It's just a matter of what you said before, like the time to invest into it. I do know it's something I want to do this year because I really think it's important to me because that's my market that I want to talk to. I want to talk to Chinese women. And I think there was one video I posted about like in Chinese, do you guys think muscle and strength is feminine? Asking like people in China. And then someone wrote in the comments like, do you even know this app? This app was created for women as like a place to exchange tips and makeup tutorials, whatever, stuff like that. So of course we love strength. Of course we love strong women on this app. It actually kind of shifted. I was in that moment being like, wait, has things changed in China since I've left about like women in sport and gym? Has the kind of mentality changed for the better? And I didn't even really know because that's what I was getting from the comments on this app that, yeah, duh, like muscle is great. We love health. We love that. And I was like, this is not what I grew up with. What?
I mean, I would say with my limited knowledge of China and obviously I don't speak the language, but we are helping a lot more people in China now through the process programming. Just in the last years, I have seen a huge shift. You know, just a rise of people investing in health and energy and mindfulness. Today, well spent. You know, our sponsor Mensa is from China. And she feels super passionately about this project and is making a serious, you know, creating some serious value over there and starting communities and conversation, which is just incredible. And then obviously I've seen it in the CrossFit space alone, just the rise in CrossFit gyms and fitness, and all of these gyms have women in it and they're all strong and they love it. And, you know, it's shifting so much. And it's something that I feel very passionately about trying to help as well. I just need to speak the language. It helps when you like connect with them through that language. And I think I actually met a few Chinese women in Dubai. That kind of segues into this shirt a little bit, actually, since we're talking about like being Chinese, and this is obviously a Chinese character on the front of our chests. I met these Chinese women in Dubai who, not through Xiaohongshu, just I think through Girls of Girls through Instagram. And in that moment, I also realized that like, why am I trying to, there's a country with billions of people that I come from and I grew up in. I can speak the language and my story is something that these women relate to. And this concept of da, which I'll quickly explain this t-shirt as well. Da means big in Chinese, and it's something that's always been a trigger word for me growing up. My legs are like 太大了, shoulders 太大了, butt is 太大了, and you don't want to be 太大, too big. And this idea for Chinese women, it's, you know, it's a bit of a negatively connotated word. And it's exactly why I stuck it like front and center of the chest of the shirt, because you want to wear this shirt in the gym, at home, in the streets. When you're wearing it in Hong Kong or mainland, people can actually understand this character. And they might do a double take when they see you walking through the street because they're like, why does that shirt say da? Like, that's so confusing. And I gave this shirt to my mom
for Christmas this year. And my dad knew about it, but she didn't know about it. So I was filming her reaction. And I think at the end of the day, the reason why I made this shirt in the first place is for women like my mom to try and change their minds.
Yeah.
Because she looks at the shirt and she goes, 大为什么大 Why 大 Why big 我要小 I want small.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like laughing a little bit awkwardly as I'm filming this because I'm like, oh, like this is going to be, I don't know if she's going to wear this shirt. I don't know if she likes this present. And you also don't want to paint your, like, even though it was my mom maybe saying my legs were too big or rugby's too masculine of a sport, I'm not trying to paint her in a bad light at all. It's not her. She grew up in an environment that created that mentality towards muscle and strength and a sport like rugby. And she also needs that same girls of girls environment shift in her mentality. And I feel like I'm creating it for her because she messaged me the other day, like her wearing this shirt, doing like a pose like this, like kind of like the character. And being like, I sent it to my friends and I'm trying to get more people to order this shirt for you.
Amazing.
And that's just like, I don't even need any more other people to buy this shirt. I think I've already done what I wanted to do, is give it to my mom and try to change my mom's mind. But imagine there are so many other women like my mom in China that I want to reach on Xiaohongshu because my mom uses Xiaohongshu, so I can hopefully talk to them like that. And just that little trigger of like, let's change this. So yeah, I didn't even expect to tell that story, but it is linked with the shirt and Xiaohongshu altogether.
I mean, so we're gonna pause it there.
Yeah.
The reason I'm saying pausing is I think this is going to be a periodic 1 year catch up in terms of what's happening with Sophie's life. But I think I've learned a lot more about Girls Lift Girls in this conversation. There's a much, much deeper meaning and message behind it that perhaps I didn't realize and give credit to. So I think you're doing an incredible job. I think the waves that the world can superficially see through social media, it looks amazing. But I think when the world hears about the deeper message, I think you're really going to get a lot of people behind you. And if there's anything that I can do to get behind this as well, to lift girls, if a boy can lift more girls, then I'd like to be
boys who lift girls who lift girls. That might be a t-shirt idea.
There you go. And obviously the Dark collection as well. Like, thank you for the shirt. Thank you for the gift. And yeah, just love everything that you're doing. And yeah, thank you for coming on here and sharing your story. And I think people relate a lot to things that you've been through and how you've created this concept and this idea and executed to actually have something that people can experience, feel, touch, wear, and is having an impact. So yeah, amazing.
Try to keep executing. Yeah.
Keep executing. Until next time.
Yeah. Until next time.
Before we say goodbye, here's one crazy statistic for you. Did you know that almost 40% of people who listen to the show don't actually subscribe to it? Now, I didn't think that was a big deal until I actually learned about the power of hitting subscribe. For you, the listener, you get to stay up to date when we drop episodes on a weekly basis. But for us as a podcast, it really helps our visibility and helps us attract great brands and great listeners to help grow this podcast. So if you enjoyed this episode or you're a big fan of the show, please do us a massive favor and hit subscribe. Thank you so much.